templates. 8 haven't, and then 8 said no, but I would like to. That's awesome.
Amazing. Great. That's really awesome.
Okay. Okay, we've got 28 people in. I think we should probably just get going, and then people can filter in as and when. So just wanted to give you a quick outline of the call. So my name's Tom. I work on the education team here at Makerpad. For the purpose of this call, my name is Makerpad Team, because that's how we named our account. So I don't actually get to have a name. That's fine. First of all, we're just going to run through, and this person on the other side of the webinar is Jack Vaughan. He is on the education team and community team at Glide App. So a bit of a Glide wizard. If you want to know anything about Glide, he is your man to go to. Far exceeds my knowledge. So basically, to start off, we're going to just go through a really quick introduction to Glide Apps, what it is, what you can do with it. Then we're going to talk about, you may have got a hint from the poll, about the template store. So one of the things that's really good with the Glide Apps, once you get used to building apps, then you've got this option available to you to publish to the template store. So Jack's going to go into more detail on that. Then we're going to cover some design tips around how to design your apps well. Then we're going to talk about user-specific columns, user profiles, some tab visibility, navigation, some data editor updates, and then we're going to have the ability to ask some questions at the end. But also, if you have any questions about anything we're talking about throughout, feel free to fire away in the Q&A. And then if I think something is relevant, we'll go ahead and answer that straight away. Hopefully that is a bit of a good overview. Jack, have I missed anything?
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. Thanks for coming, guys.
Awesome. So I will, without further ado, I'll hand you over to the master himself, Jack Vaughan.
Cool. Thanks, Tom. So yeah, there's as with most webinars, you know, guys, there's a whole range of experience levels for people who are on right now. So I will do my best to give you an overview of Glide and also cover a few sort of new features that we have that, arguably speaking, if you're a complete beginner, might be a bit complex for you. And if that's the case, don't worry about it. Just let it kind of wash over you and think more about like what you can do with this, not do you fully understand how to do it right now. We've got some we've got some good documentation over at glideapps.com/learn, where you can go through a number of like sort of videos and documentation to learn the basics. So just try and enjoy and open your mind to what's possible today. Cool. So I'm going to share my screen and give you sort of basic overview of Glide. And let me just try and get the right window here. Here we go. Cool. You all see this? Great. Okay. So the essential premise of Glide, or the simplest way of thinking about it, is that you're using a spreadsheet to create an app, which might seem a bit strange in the beginning, but the more you get into it, the more it kind of makes sense. A spreadsheet is really just the most common and ubiquitous way to manage data. Nearly anyone you know has at least known about spreadsheets and has almost certainly used them. So we use Google Sheets to generate an app for you and then provide a number of kind of design capabilities and then other functionality on top of that. So if we look at this spreadsheet here, we've just got the standards. If you've been using Glide for a while, you'll be aware of this kind of data in here. This is like a simple employee directory with people who work in the company, their title, their number, their email, their photo, where they work, their manager. You see, and these are basically properties of each person. So this is a person, this is a person, this is a person, right? And this is a very simple way of like structuring data in a spreadsheet, just listing information. And if we go to Glide and we click from a Google Sheet, we're going to create a new app from a Google Sheet. We can also go from templates, which I'll talk about in a minute. If we click a new app from a Google Sheet, and I'm going to click Makerpad Employees and select, Glide will generate a default app as a starting point for me. And then I have various things that I can do with that from this point. So Glide's picked up a couple of things. It's picked up the image links that were in my spreadsheet, the name of the person and their title, and then has applied a kind of layout, but I can change that layout to different layouts and add different kind of designs on the top. And then when I click on one of these people, we can see that the properties of that person, Marie Rao. Let's make sure that the image is working there. It creates a nice detail screen. So this is the basics of Glide and how it works. And we give you a lot of components then. You see on the right-hand side here, what Glide has done is it said, okay, well, let's look at the number column here in our sheet. So the number of Marie Rao, this one here. it's applied a component to that number so it shows up, but we can sort of move that down, change it. We can add a different component. You can see that we've got link components, title components, and there's a whole host of other different components that you can add to allow people to do different things in your apps. And then the last little thing, again, because this is sort of like super quick introduction, if this is kind of going over your head or you're not sure, don't worry about it. Just try and enjoy today. You can watch videos over at glideapps.com. The other little thing which is quite powerful is our data editor. So as I click on here, you probably notice this looks very much like a spreadsheet, right? Like we've got columns, we've got rows, but there's a little bit more going on here. So if you've used spreadsheets for any length of time, you've probably come across formulas or functions, and maybe even scripts and macros to do really kind of clever things with spreadsheets, to wrangle data, to do lots of really interesting things, but it's not totally accessible. And sometimes it's a bit hard to learn, and sometimes it feels a bit like writing code. And Glide is, unofficially a no-code tool. And so what the data editor allows you to do is to add kind of interesting columns that do certain things. Here you can see we've got an if-then-else column. You can probably imagine roughly what that's going to do. We have a relation. That's a concept that some of you may know about. A lookup. Lots of different sort of, you'd call computations that you can create without code. So that's a kind of a quick, super fast overview of Glide. Tom, is there anything that you want to add there, or you think I might have missed out for new people?
No, probably the crux of it is, as simple as possible, is just to make everyone aware that if you can enter information into a Google Sheet, then you can create a Glide app. So if you are seeing this for the first time and see things popping up on the screen and see some information in that Google Sheet that Jack showed, if you can enter any information that you want to show up in an app, so text, images, links, phone numbers, and then a ton of other things, you can create a Glide app without needing any further technical know-how at all. So you might be seeing like a fancy looking app on the screen, but all you need to do is be able to input data into a Google Sheet.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, for sure. And what we're actually going to be going over today is some of the latest features that we have. So some of them might be a bit complex for you, but again, just try and put it in the context of, you can do something really simple like this app where you list information, and then you can do more interesting things where you have actions, relations, subcategories, like really interesting layouts and stuff like that. So yeah, so today I'd really love to talk to you guys a little bit just initially about the Glide template store. So some of you have built templates, some of you would like to build a template, but if you go over to glideapps.com/templates, you'll see a whole host of different templates that Glide has made, and increasingly a lot of the members of our community and our Glide experts have made. And these are sort of, they're aimed to give you a great starting point. So if we click on Glide Simple Store and we preview the template, if I'm a new user of Glide and I come to this template and I want to build a store, this is going to get me up and running right away. All I need to do is copy this template and start editing stuff. And once I've copied it, I'll get the Google Sheet and the app, and I can just be up and running. So it makes the process even quicker than what I've just shown you there. But we want to encourage you, especially if you're, well, anyone at any level, is to start making templates, right? Because if you're a no-code maker and you're already messing around with this stuff and you're already like honing your chops, you may as well make some money out of it, right? So we're taking submissions from anyone in the world who's making Glide apps. And I think it's a really good opportunity. So what kind of things do we want? So a Glide template could be anything, right? There's some really interesting ones in here, but generally speaking, you want to think about a problem to solve. You want to think about like a business problem to solve or a personal problem to solve, and then build an app that helps that. And you'll see lots of different things in here, and I'd encourage you to have a look. But just as an example, some of the kind of archetypes, you could build an app for dentists, you could build an app for hairstylists, or an Airbnb manager. Jesus Vargas, one of our Glide experts, did that a while ago. And he also did one for a real estate company, and people buy these templates, you know? So would really encourage you to start thinking about that. But, and all it would probably take is just a couple of days work, maybe 1 or 2 days work, putting in some good design time. And then this app will be out there in the template store and people will hopefully buy it. So I mentioned about the coming up with ideas for templates, and many of you will probably have loads of ideas swinging around your head already. But if you're not sure, but you're like, oh, I'd love to build a Glide template, then we could just chat a little bit now, Tom, about like the ideation side of things. And guys, you know, put stuff in the chat as well about this. But essentially, one of the best things I've found to come up with ideas is to talk to businesses, talk to small businesses. So find someone that you know, uncle, friend, whatever, who runs a business, and talk to them about what they do, their processes, how they talk to their customers, that sort of things, and sort of work out. You could even ask them, what spreadsheets are you using? Like that's the perfect place to start. Like, how are you using spreadsheets, and could it be built into an app, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just to hop in, Jack, just a couple of questions. So how does pricing work on the template store? Do you set your own prices? How much do you take back? And also Matt Porter has a question, which says, once you purchase a template and extend it, can you sell it as your own template?
That's a really good question, Matt. So just speaking, so I'm not in any way part of the legal team for Glide, so we'd have to sort of clarify that. I think a lot of templates share a whole host of features, right? So because we provide features, so if it's a bit like the music industry, like, oh, you used my chord, it's a bit tricky. But I think you should probably contact us if you're worried about that. But I don't think it should be an issue. I think you'll know intuitively what's copying and what's not, for sure. What was the other one? Pricing. That was it. So
yeah, how does pricing work?
Obviously, I haven't done much work to this app here, so I'm not going to actually submit this. But if you notice, I've gone to the settings area and I've gone to the general tab. And at the bottom here, we see this submit to template store. If I click there, I'm taken to kind of a wizard where I can put in the title, the description, a video demo, and the category. And then the pricing is basically tiered pricing. You can either be really kind or develop your audience, because, these people who buy your template, can email you and stuff. And the more you give to them, the more they'll appreciate what you do. Or you can sell for one of these tiers, and these may change in future. I'm not sure of the split, but it's fairly sizable. Like, we take a very small cut, I think. I can't remember. Sorry about that.
Sorry?
Yeah, so that's it. It's easy, and then we'll review them as often as possible, and then give you feedback if it's not accepted. But I'm going to give you a kind of a rundown of some tips about how to create good templates.
Nice, let's do it.
Cool. So just going back to, let me just open the app here. Actually, I can just turn this off for a sec.
Does anybody at this point have any more questions about the template store, or potentially creating templates yourself before we move on?
Go easy on the cat.
Phil, so can you make an app on Glide and publish it to sell on the App Store?
Sorry, say that again, Tom. I was reading some of the other comments. Apologies.
So Phil says, so can you make an app on Glide and publish it to sell on the App Store?
So not yet, but we are working on it. You're talking about the iOS and Play stores, I presume. That's definitely part of our future. We aren't native yet, but it's well within the capabilities for sure in the future.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah, let's go on to some design stuff.
Yeah. So just quickly about about actually submitting templates there. They don't need to be totally unique. So you might be looking through the template store and being like, oh man, all the ideas, like, they've been taken, I can't come up with new ones. Like, you can set your app apart in other ways, right? Design is a huge one, right? But also sort of use case. So as a simple example, like conference apps, right? Everyone makes conference apps. That's a really standard thing to make. But if you make a conference app for a specific niche, like doctors or chiropractor conference, we don't have a conference for that. And if you can make a compelling app that really is tailored to them, maybe the design, maybe the layout, that's really legitimately a valuable app for a customer that they will buy over the kind of standard stock conference template, because it's easier for them. It's also, it might feel like cheating for you, but actually what you've done is you've inspired someone who's not used to creating apps to go, oh my God, this is really possible. So let's talk a little bit about the actual design side of stuff, because that can really, really help. So let me share my screen again. Man, so many windows. Okay, you can all see this, right?
Yep.
Cool. So this is just like a really simple app that I put together, just a single screen, and just wanted to highlight a couple of design tips, really. For those of you who know about Glide, you may not be using all of the components that I mentioned here. Some of the ones that particularly get they don't get used enough, in my opinion, from the apps that I've seen, are the text component. So if we look at this text component here, you can see that it's tied to, or we're displaying the word welcome in it. And we can change the alignment of that. We can change the different size of that text here. We can do all caps. And also if it's really long, we can truncate text lines as well, which then triggers that kind of more button there. And you can create some really nice, simple text layouts. So you see this kind of H1 here with a simple subtitle underneath. Is very simple, but actually it's so much more beautiful than just like a simple basic text component that just goes, here's some information, you know? So using the components that we already have in Glide to make things look a little bit more beautiful is a really good thing to do. This also extends to like the basic table component. Right at the bottom here, you can see that I put just 3 properties in a basic table component, and that makes things just look a little bit neater and well put together. This extends to cards as well. If I look at this inline list here, this is the cards layout. I don't see enough people using that, but it's incredibly flexible as a layout. There's lots and lots of different design options here, and also combined with overlays as well. So down here, you can see that I've got a tag, I've got a favorite button, I've got an avatar text, and we've got this nice shadow behind it. So just really encouraging you to kind of explore some of the functionality in the design layouts, that particularly tiles and cards, if you haven't already. And then a kind of overlooked one is graphs, because you might not think, oh, graphs, that's for like a data heavy app, like I don't need that. But actually sometimes it can just make your app look really beautiful, and it doesn't have to show incredibly useful data. It could just be really simple things. And then this just is like very colorful. The design team did an amazing job with the color themes in these charts. If you look here, there are a whole load of different things based off different people and artists. We've got Hockney, we've got Missy Elliott. I think we've got RuPaul in there as well, which is really cool. And you've got like a color theme designed by the Glide team to make it look really good. So you just, not much effort to make something look pretty. The other thing I wanted to talk about is Unsplash, right? Because we've got a slightly overlooked feature in the data editor in an image column, which is Unsplash. If you guys don't know about it, it's like amazing royalty-free images from around the world, and you can actually add images in Glide. So I've just done that, and I've added a dinosaur to this cell here, and you can search for anything that you want. So particularly for templates, one of the things that people really want is good dummy data, so that you can understand what this app is about, but also great images just sells an app so well. Staying with images, if we look at the top here, what we've got is we've got this kind of sort of wobbly line going on here. And if you're new to Glide, you might not have seen that before. All that is just a simple image, right? Which is, if I just go to the data editor and open it up, it's just that, right? It's an image with transparency in the background. So the bottom part, this white part, it's just transparent, it's a PNG, right? And then what I've done is I've taken the top of this theme, the bold layout, right? This would work in the dark layout as well. And it just sort of extends it. So these little things are really good, and you can build your own kind of separators, right? So this is not doing anything, right? But it's maybe quite nice. Down here as well, like this is just an image, but it's kind of making it look a little bit more custom, right? You might think about doing those sorts of things.
Maybe worth mentioning, where do you find is the best place for people to actually get images like this?
Images like this thing here, or?
Yeah, so the one pretty on the home screen. So if people were trying to like replicate a look and feel of this one you've got here, where would they find?
Sure. So I actually just made this in Figma. If you guys don't know Figma, it's totally free, absolutely amazing design tool. And all I did was, let's go over to this. I had 2 shapes, a rectangle and this, which I think I got from a design library. You go to figmacrush.com. There's an amazing load of templates made by designers.
Nice.
And yeah, I just put those 2 together and then exported it. So
yeah, so I think that's a great tip. I think Yeah, it's one of those things that it's simple, but until you see it used, you don't think of it. We've got
Yeah.
one quick question from Amit about image zoom in and out feature. When will this feature be available? How to zoom images onto the full page?
Oh yeah, you can do that. So here I'm in the image component. If I understand you correct, Amit, you want to zoom and pinch and zoom and things like that. So this isn't a great image to do it with, but I'm going to click on the image component. And a lot of people miss this panel, this second tab here, right? Features. If we go in here, we can see that we can add visibility conditions, which I'll go over today if we have time. But I can also add actions, right? And there's a lot here. One sec. Where is it? Enlarge image, sorry, I missed that one. Right, and then we click on it, and then we're in the full scale image there. And then I can't do this on my screen, I don't think. Oh yeah, I can, look, here we go. Zoom in and out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question on it?
Oh, Canva is great as well. Yeah, nice, good point, Tom.
Canva is great.
Canva is a lot more accessible than Figma actually. So if you're new to it, I would suggest that.
Absolutely. Cool. No, that's great. I didn't know about that either.
Great.
Awesome.
And if anyone else has any design tips, like whack them in the chat as well. Like there's loads of stuff out there, amazing resources, great websites that just give you stuff. So just, let us know, like, what do you use? That'd be cool to know.
Nice. Adam's just popped in the chat, blobmaker.app. That seems like something.
Cool. And it's got lots of feedback. Cool.
Nice. Thanks, Amit.
Great. So should we dive into some of the latest features then, Tom?
Let's do it. Let's talk about user-specific features. I know this is something that comes up a lot about people wanting to have apps where users can log in and do stuff, and how can you personalize that sort of content around people logging in?
Yeah. So there's two facets to kind of like developing an app that's really rich in terms of the user experience, that it's not just an app that you're looking at passively, but it's actually an app that you are a user of. And that's user specific columns, which I'm going to go through now. And then I'm going to go through user profiles, two separate things, right? So if any of you have used Glide before, you know that with a list, what you can do is you can kind of filter that list and show only certain people, certain items. So if I logged into an app, for example, this one, it doesn't really make sense as a use case, but like I could make Tom as a user only see these three and me as a user only see these three, right? But that's hiding the whole item. What if you wanted to go on to a thing and see something like private notes, right? Or your own favorite rating. These two elements here would totally not make sense if they were synced between Tom and I, right? So if Tom wrote something in here and then I wrote something in here, what it would do, it would overwrite it, right? Doesn't make sense. Same with favorite, same with like and stuff like that. And it's only recently that we actually enabled this ability with user-specific columns. So if I go over to the data editor, and again, if some of this goes over your head, don't worry, we've got documentation on it and you can kind of look at that later. You're probably used to the concept of favorites, right? When I favorite an item or if Tom favorites an item, it's totally separate data. And if we look at this column here, is favorited, we can see that it's blue, right? The icon is blue, whereas all the others are gray. And that denotes that this is a user-specific column. And the way that you kind of preview different user data is by this preview as feature here. So as Tom, I'm logged in as Tom, and this works in the data editor as well. I'm going to favorite a bunch of items. And if we go to the top item here, this should be favorited. I'm not sure what I did there. And then if we switch to a different person, to me, that'll be unfavorited. You see that switch there? If I go back to Tom, it's favorited and his private notes come back. So this is a really useful feature. So instead of just linking a component like action or hours, right? This is just linked to a normal column in our sheet that's just the same for everyone. Instead of that, if we go to the private notes column, we can see that this is linked to the private notes column in the data editor. And if we scroll along to the right-hand side, we can see that we've got private notes over here and it's blue. So again, one more time, I'm just gonna cut this out and we'll see that this becomes mine. So if you think about this, you could potentially have thousands and thousands, depending on how many users you have in your app, of the same cell, right? If we had thousands of users of this app, this one cell would be unique to every user. And this means that items in your apps, like private notes, like favorite, can be unique, right? And there are a number of components that we've added recently which really benefit from this. Like if you think of the nature of a like component or a rating component, then those don't make sense if everyone shares the data that's linked to them. So this is just like a simple Pokemon Go like mock app, right? And if we go to who we logged in as, we're logged in as Tom here. If we go to Bulbasaur, you can see that Tom hasn't liked it yet. But if we do this, let's say Tom likes Bulbasaur, gives it a rating of 2, that he's caught it, and then he can add his signature. I don't know your signature, Tom, but I'm going to make it look really messy.
That's exactly right.
There's a good approximation, isn't it? It's very hard to do this with the mouse, actually. It's going to add it. See, Tom's beautiful signature there.
Nice.
And then if I preview as me, all of these things change, you see? So this is completely separate. And all of these components here, the like, rating, talk about, oh yeah, that's just a simple switch component. The location component and the signature component, they all benefit from user-specific columns. And then the last little thing, and then I'll take some questions about it because it might be a bit strange for you if you haven't looked at this before, is that you can then filter different tabs based on that information, right? So if we go back to me, so let's say I've caught this and I've also caught Venusaur, right? I can go over to this tab and this tab will be totally specific to me, right? These are the things that I've caught or that I've liked or that whatever property you're linking here. And if I switch to Tom, he's just caught Bulbasaur, right? And this will update immediately depending on whatever happens here. And all that we're doing in this list is in the features here, we're just going to say caught, which is a user-specific column, is true. That's the condition. So it's saying only show items where the user-specific column of caught is true for this current user, right? So really, really neat feature there. Does anyone have any questions about that? Because I appreciate it's a bit strange, especially if you're new to Glide right now. It's a bit of an advanced feature.
Yeah, so I've popped the link to the user-specific columns from the Glide
Nice.
docs into the chat. So if you did want to go and reference any of that, you can dive in. We're just going to have a look and dig out some questions that we have. 2 seconds. Can you only put images like this on data or sheets?
Can you input images like this on data and sheets? I'm not sure I understand that.
Back to the previous. Just have a look.
Oh, maybe he's asking or she is asking about does the user specific, I didn't say this actually, user specific columns don't live in the sheet, right? So we've got this interesting relationship between Glide's data editor and your Google Sheet. And the kind of long-term roadmap of Glide is obviously that we'll have different data sources. Like we've started with Google Sheets, but we are just starting work on something that we call native tables, which basically means that you could theoretically build a Glide app without a Google Sheet. And this would be beneficial for a lot of reasons. For example, if your app suddenly had thousands of users and thousands of rows, Glide native tables would totally scale to that rather than Google Sheets, which sometimes causes issues. We have a number of apps which have thousands of users and thousands of rows, and it gets a little bit tricky because Google Sheets puts a thing. So anyway, all that to say that if we look at these columns here, the blue ones, we won't find in our Google Sheet because they have to be computed and stored totally in Glide, right? So we don't see them here. We see everything up to evolves from, right? But then everything after that, apart from height number, is just in the data editor. I don't know whether that answers the question.
There is, if you go to the docs.glide apps library as well, there's a lot of info around the data editor specifically from the menu. So I'll just link this for you. So if you're just starting out, it's probably a good place to go.
Payment functionality, yes. Subscriptions, not native to Glide, but absolutely we have the buy button. So let's say you wanted to buy Bulbasaur. You search the component for buy button, right? And then there's a number of different things you can connect to your Stripe account. You can change the functionality to either buy and check out straight away, or you can kind of add it to your shopping cart. But no, not yet in terms of subscriptions. You would have to sort of manage that yourself.
Nice. Do you have any plans to enable integration with Airtable?
That is something that we would like to do in the future. I wouldn't say it's close. Like I say, we would love to have other sources other than Google Sheets. But it's,
Okay.
yeah, not sure exactly how far off that is, but a little while.
Okey-dokey.
But yeah, we love it. We love Airtable.
Yes, best. How to rename favorite. So I think this is reference to renaming components.
Oh yeah.
Can you show how that's done?
Yeah.
Can be a quick one.
So yeah, I'll give you a quick one on that. So I've just added the favorite component down at the bottom here. We can just change it so it defaults to favorite, right? But I can just do like or whatever, and it'll change, or add to my library, whatever. And then if we go back to here, we'll see, well, this is still called favorites, but we can change that as well in the component. But yeah, absolutely, you can change that. So my library. And there you go, my library.
Awesome. Matt Porter has asked, how are the signatures stored? So I think he has a specific use case in mind. So I wanted to know, I think Matt's from an enterprise background, if I remember rightly. So
yeah, sure. So you can see this is stored on like our servers, and that's you'd have to ask the Glide team. You can email support at Glide Apps for the specifics and the security of that. But as far as I understand it, user-specific data is very secure. Yeah, at the moment we're working towards building like a file manager or something like that, where you can have more access to this. Because if I go back to previewing as me, there's no way I can access that photo in that column there. Like I can't go to a media library and manage that yet, but we would like to do that in future.
And I don't know if you are able to answer this, might be a question for support, but it's about GDPR and HIPAA compliant. Do you know that one?
Yeah, so we're very conscious of that. We're actively working on that right now. There's a lot of angles to approach that from. As you know, if you know anything about it, there's a number of requirements, and Glide is still a relatively young company, but for sure we're working on that right now. And if you're a member of our community, there's some chats going on about that at the moment, and you can learn what we're looking at right now.
Awesome. I know there's a lot of questions. What we're going to do, we'll push on through some more stuff, and then at the end, we'll try and get back through some more questions as well. Hope that's okay with everybody.
Cool. Thanks, Tom.
So should we talk about tab visibility now?
Yeah, I was going to quickly go over user profiles, if that's okay.
Profiles, absolutely.
The user profiles and user-specific columns are like the main features you want to get into any templates that you make.
Yep.
It just makes your app so much more valuable, and the people who buy your app will be just so much more inspired, or you know, it'll be so much more useful, you know. But it's hidden, you know. It's kind of like people sort of expect it in a way when they build an app or when they buy an app or use it. So if we think about basically, user profiles lets you specify a table where your data about your users is, right? So if we go into the data editor here in this template and we go to users, we can see that we've got the different users' names, their emails, their image, some kind of information here like access level, and a rubbish biography that I must have written at some point. And these are the properties of your users, right? And for example, if you were building an app for a school, you'd have the name, email, photo, then you'd have like the student number, the image, the class, the tutor, the parent, the year group, and whatever use case you're building for, I'm sure you can imagine like what are the properties of the people that you're building your app for, or the properties of the people who will be using your app. And then whatever those properties are, you can build your app around them, right? So a really simple example of this is if I go back to that table here, we've got this column here, which I just made up. It's not a Glide thing. It's just a simple column. It actually lives in my sheet. Like you'll find it if we go to the Google Sheet as well. And I've just written Jack here. I am an admin. And if we look here, Tom at the moment is free, right? And that means that Tom and I can experience this app very differently. So currently we're looking at this app as Tom, right? And if I scroll down, we can see, I just want you to notice these two components here. We have a horizontal scrolling inline list, free courses. This one here, and then we have a button which says unlock all courses, right? And then if I change it to me, See, they go away, and then the button disappears, and now this is a different component, right? We've shown and hidden components based on the user property, and we've hidden those components using the property that I just showed you in the data editor. So this might be a bit confusing, but if I go to that inline list and I go to the features panel, this is this inline list that we're looking at here. It says in this visibility condition here, it says show component when the access level is premium or admin, right? So that means that this component here will only show when the user, which is currently me, because I'm logged in as me, is admin. But if I go to Tom, who is free, it disappears, okay? So this hopefully gives you an idea that like, this is just one component, right? But this also extends to tabs. And this is the big announcement that we did last week, which is an incredibly powerful feature where you can do the same with whole tabs. And this means that you can actually build, technically speaking, completely different apps for different users, right? I could build an app, I could build this app out as like a restaurant ratings app for Tom, and then I could build it out as like a football manager app or something like that for me, because I could, it would be really like extensive work, and you wouldn't necessarily want to do that, but it's just to show you the power of this component and tab visibility. So just as a reminder there, what we did is we went into the component, we clicked into the features panel, and we went over to visibility and we added a condition based on a property that we just came up with ourselves. So you'll have any properties that you want and you can create conditions. So let's show you the tabs, right? If we look here, Tom's logged in. We can see his nice little user profile up there. And then up at the top, we see these tabs, right? But if I'm an admin and I log in as me, we see this really nice admin tab here, right? Where I have only stuff that's pertinent to me if I'm like the manager of the app. And this could extend to like a whole different range of things, right? There's so many use cases for it. You could also enable editing rights. If we go to the courses page here, you can see this little editing button up at the top, right? And I can edit it. But if I put Tom back in, he can't edit it because he's just a user. And here we've only got two properties. We've got free and premium. But imagine if you had like totally different types of properties, like different teams or categories or whatever. You can change the app as much as you want based on the properties of your users. So really, really powerful. A more design or cosmetic kind of thing. If we look here, it's probably really small for you guys on the screen, but can you see it says, welcome Tom, it's great to have you here. And then if we switch back to me, it says, welcome Jack, it's great to have you here. So little really nice touches like that can be really powerful in your app. It's like, oh wow, this app is like pretty sophisticated. But for you as a builder, all that's doing is if we go to home and we scroll along to this welcome message here, this is using Glide's template column, and we can see the words welcome and then name. It's great to have you here. And if any of you have done any mail merging in the past, you'll know what's going on here. We're just replacing the word name with the current user's name. That's all it is. So that is it. And when you do that, it adds a huge amount of value to your app.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think I've actually used that before. I think the last time.
Tab visibility.
Is that new?
Yeah,
new?
On Wednesday. So this is it was a hugely
Nice.
requested feature. And actually, if you guys aren't members of the community, I'm just going to put the link in the chat now. The Glide community is absolutely awesome. Like there's just such great tips and chat going on in there. And I posted the thread the other day, actually. Let me see if I can find that.
Is anybody working on apps with user profiles integrated at the moment? Feel free to share any links in the chat. We'd love to take a look.
So I just put in, by the way, guys, if you're putting questions in the chat, I might miss them and Tom might miss them. So like if you really want them answered, maybe put them in the Q&A as well, if possible.
Yeah, and if there's any ones you like, be sure to like upvote them so you can bring them to the top. But we'll get some questions in a few minutes as well.
Yeah. So that link I just put in there is like one of the most commented ones because everyone's talking about the different use cases for it and all the things that they're going to do with it. So like, you know, there's just a ton of different things. You could do membership or gated content, like I just showed you there. Someone in our community did a really creative thing. Talking of GDPR, they created a custom kind of like onboarding flow screen where they had to opt in for stuff, and then they hid those tabs. As I said, you can create admin tabs, but you can also do like teams. So for example, this app here, what we've got, if we just preview this app as this person here, we can see that they're on the red team. But if we preview as this person here, I'm spelling his name wrong. I always spell Keith wrong. We see they're on the blue team and we see their items. And you guys probably know now how that works. But what's really cool, you probably didn't notice, is this tab just appeared, right? If I go back to the first one, there's no tab at the bottom, but suddenly there's this secret tab, right? And this can be extended to teams. So anyone who's in the blue team, if we look here at the users, there's lots of different people in different teams. This extends to across entire teams. So you could have like 1,000 people in your app and 3 teams, and then you can just customize what it looks like for all 3 teams. A bit more in depth, can't go into it too much now, but hopefully it makes sense in terms of the possibility.
Nice.
Shall I crack on, Tom? Yeah, go on.
Should we just, what time is it? We've 43 minutes. Should we push on and then we'll see all the questions at the end, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good idea. Okay,
Let's do
cool.
that.
So,
we talk about navigation previously.
Navigation, yeah. So, right, like if I'd be interested to know actually, like, was anyone using Glide a year ago in the, like, just say yes in the chat. Be really interesting to know, like, for those of you who, oh, cool, Filippo, great, nice one. And Tom, yeah, I'm glad you were. Yeah, awesome. No, cool. So for those of you who were using it, you'll remember the time where we basically just had tabs at the bottom of your app, right? Bit crazy in some ways, because as soon as you went over 5 tabs, it looked a bit whack, right? You just had too much stuff squishing up there. So then we added the app menu where you can add these things outside. But there are a number of other things. Those are, like, tabs are traditional navigation, right? But there are a number of other things that we've added over the past like 6 months, and certainly updated a lot recently, which are kind of undiscovered features, in my opinion, which can really do a lot of cool things. And that's the link to screen action and lists as menus, right? And I'm going to go into how these work now. So if you look at this screen here, we're looking at a button which has the link to screen action on it. There's nothing else on this page. If I go over to the features panel here, we can see we've got the link to screen action enabled, and then I've chosen the sheet that I want to go to, and that's it basically, right? And then if I click go, we'll go to that screen, and I can then customize this screen exactly how I want. It's totally separate. But if you notice, we're still in the same tab, right? We're still in the same tab, but we've gone to a different screen. And then I've done the same thing on this button as well. So I've gone to the next chapter and the next chapter, right? And we're still all in the same tab. So theoretically, you can have as many screens as you want in a single tab, and you can have this on as many buttons as you want. So just with that on its own, you can see that there's a whole host more now that you can do with navigation using the link to screen action. I mentioned here in the customization of this button that you can either link to a sheet, you can link to a relation, and again, that's something you can learn about more in our documentation, or you can link to the current item, which is often a weird one. Everyone kind of thinks, why on earth would you want to link to the screen that you're currently on? That's really weird. Well, it makes sense when you think about reading more or like discovering more. So this is a list of people. If we go to Marie, we can see her properties here. This is like a standard employee directory. And then we see this button that says read more. So what this is doing is looking at this row here. It's looking at this whole row, but she's got a lot of stuff in this row, and she's got a massive long biography as well. And we don't want to show it all initially. We want to allow people to read more. So what we've done is we've got a button here, which has the link to screen action enabled, and it links to the same item. And when we do that, we see all of her properties, right? So sometimes I see sheets where, like, say each of your items, employees is not a good example because, you know, you might not have loads of properties for each employee. But if you imagine, I can't think of something, Tom, you probably think of a good example, but imagine this row here had like hundreds of columns, or as many columns as Google Sheets allows you to do, right? Where you had all these different properties of this single thing. to show that on a single
like an event might be a good one.
That's a great,
like a conference.
Yeah. So you can do things with relations. So you could pull in other lists, but if your item truly has unique properties that you want to like sort of show in line, then you might want to use this screen or this button to link to more things. So it could be like, read more about her background, read more about her projects, read more about her, and in each one of those screens, you can show things that are relevant to them. So I'm sure you guys can think of examples. And then the other thing, which I think is particularly cool, I love this. This is like arguably the most undiscoverable feature in Glide, because it's like right down in the menu system here. So if we go into what we've got here, we've got an inline list, and inline lists usually show items, right? So on this tab, we're showing items, and when we click on each person, we see that person, right? But if we go into the features of this list, we can actually see that this list has an action enabled on each item, and the default action for each list is view details. And view details means go to this screen where you see all of the details for that item. That's what view details is. But if I click on this, you can see we've got access to all the other actions. So I could, instead of, you know, going to the detail screen, we could say like, you know, send email. And now you see emails. So now this list is not a menu to go to different people. It's like, click on Marie to send her an email, or you could do all of these other ones here. So that's a really cool thing. But if we go back to view details, there's this tiny little checkbox here, which is so powerful, which is independent screen configuration per item. And if I click that, nothing happens. But what I can now do is I can configure each of these screens individually, right? So traditionally with lists, whatever I do to this screen, if I deleted this component here, would apply to all of the other list items. If that doesn't make sense, let me just go back, and I don't want to go too fast here for people who haven't used Glide before. So I've turned off that feature there. If I go to Marie and I take away her number, for example, right? So, and now I go down to Tamsin. Tamsin doesn't have a number either. Sarah doesn't have a number either, right? But if I undo that and bring the number back, now all of them have the number again. So your design decisions traditionally work for all of the items in your lists. But if we turn this on, that's not the case anymore. I can go to Tamsin, delete like everything about Tamsin, and go to Marie, and it won't affect Marie. So that might be like, yeah, okay, whatever, that's kind of cool. But what that allows you to do is turn a list into a menu. So what we've got here is we've got an inline list with that independent screen configuration per item turned on, and that means that we can use this list layout in kind of whatever style that we want. We can change the design, we can add different things about it, right? We can add, you know, huge text or put it in the middle, blah, blah, blah. But this is now acting as a menu. And if we go to the home screen, it's completely different to the about screen. It's completely different to the location screen. It's just totally different, right? And if you haven't used Glide before, this might be like, I'm not so sure. But for those of you who have, this is kind of pretty incredible. And combined with the link to screen action, you can do a whole host of things. So like I often give like a really stupid example, but theoretically, and this isn't to like show you like a practical example, but you could, for example, have a tab that only shows up once a year in your app, and it would only show up for Tom, who's using your app. And then like inside of that app, there's a button that only shows after you enter a secret password. And then inside of the screen, inside of that button, you have like a list of items. And then on one of those items, you see where I'm going with this. Like you can have this infinitely nested kind of structure to your app that gets really complex. And this is just something to bear in mind because it's super powerful, but also it allows you to create really delightful experiences for your users. Like you could even do Easter eggs in your apps. Like why not do that? You know, that would be really cool. Someone just discovers there's a secret page when they do this certain thing in the app. So yeah, I just wanted to do a time check and check on any questions, Tom, that we have. I could talk a little bit about a couple of data editor things, or we can round it up and just with questions.
Let's do a couple of minutes on the data editor, just because I know that's something which is really useful to get a grip of. Then we can add in some go whiz through all the questions that are left in the Q&A.
So we have, I've done a fair few videos on the data editor, so you can watch those and understand a little bit more about it. again, just for those of you who are new to Glide, we've got docs.glideapps.com, which has written text and videos, or if you're just a video person, if you go to glideapps.com and learn to glide, sort of got a growing library of resources, and the data editor here has kind of some of the most videos in it. And you can watch the introduction to the data editor. Why is that not there? Oh no, it's there. There we go. Cool. So computed columns, right? Like the difference that I want to highlight to you guys between columns is the difference between, if we create a new column here and we're going to say this is a normal column, we're going to say it's just a text column, right? We could like make Glide recognize that we're going to do a number column, a date time column. We're just going to say text, that's fine. And we're not going to click column is user specific. I always find that really hard to say, actually, user specific. I always feel like I'm falling over my words. And then if I write something in here and I edit my sheet, we're going to see that the normal column has appeared and that text is there. So this normal columns in Glide are the same as your sheet columns, right? And you can create them from both places, which is cool. But if I'm just going to, I can't delete it from there. I'm going to delete it from here. If I add a new column, I'm just going to reload my sheet so that disappears. It's taking its sweet time. If I add a column now and we'll just do text again, and then you make it user specific, that will only live in the data editor and that won't appear here, right? Then the third type of column, right, is the computed column. And that's everything that you see down here. And we're growing this all the time. We started with relations and then template, and then some more sophisticated stuff like if then else and lookups started coming in. And one that we added recently is the distance column, which is a really cool column. So if I go over to this column here, I think this is it, isn't it? No, that's not it. Let me just go one sec. Okay, cool. Yeah. So let's say in this app, I want to see where I am, right? Or I want to, oh no, I made a separate app for this. Sorry guys, one sec.
This is one of those features that went down like a storm when it came out.
Yeah.
It was heavily requested by a lot of people.
Here we go. So the classic example would be a city guide. What you'd love to see on a city guide is when you go to an item, not just on a map, but when you actually visit that item, you want to go, like, how far is this away from me? And when I click on it, like, take me to Google Maps. That's like a really standard feature. And this is calculating the distance. Obviously, I'm in the UK and this is in San Francisco, so it's a little while away. But this is coming from the distance column, right? Which is really powerful. So if we go over to the app here, why can I not see it?
On the right-hand side.
Is it? Did I miss it? Distance, sorry, thank you, dude. So if we do here, and this is obviously specific to each user. So this is only going to be relevant to me, right? And you can change it from kilometers to miles, current location, change the separator. Yeah, we restrict it because it's obviously like intensive to do these computations for each user. So it's kind of, you get a certain amount if you're free, and then it's on pro. But it's a really useful thing that we've added recently. There's also the location component as well. So if I say use my current location, that will log my current location to the sheet. So they're very related, those two things, but one is a real-time thing that updates. So if I move, the distance column will work out how far it is all the time. Whereas right now, the component you're seeing here will just log it once. So the second one, the component could be much more useful in forms, for example. So yeah, that's a kind of, sorry,
one
Tom,
quick question, one personal question before we dive into everybody else's distance. Is there any plans to do routing inside of a Glide app?
What? Oh, you mean like, can I go from here to here and give me the route?
Yeah, so now you've got obviously a really good map and pinned locations. It'd be good to just be able to like use the route without moving into another app. Yeah,
great point. Yeah, for sure. We've been asked for that for sure. No immediate plans, but like as I'm sure with all the tools that you guys use, you know, you're always using it and you're like, oh man, I wish I had this. You know, I wish it had this. So like all of these no-code tools are inundated with like great feature requests, and we love it. And one of the things that's really important to us is that we're listening to our users and knowing like what's most important to you guys. And the thing that we use for that is, surprise, surprise, a Glide app. And if you go to features.staging.glideapp.io, I'm going to put it in here for you all, you can upvote and add your own feature requests. So for example, if I go here, I'm going to search for the most requested feature, which is push notifications and deep links, and then App Store as well. And you can go onto these, and we're all, like, our community are commenting about it. You can bookmark it, and then you can make suggestions, and you can also see things that we've shipped recently as well. So that's a great resource to, and we listen to that hugely.
Amazing. Nice. Some awesome features, especially if you haven't used like the app in a while. There's literally just like features pushed all the time. So
yeah,
it's great that you can, as like a maker, if you've got several apps and say you're publishing it for a client and you have like a deal to maintain those apps, or if you're publishing it for yourself, then regularly you can go back and just keep updating your app and release new features yourself all the time.
Yeah.
So that's what I love, because you guys ship stuff really fast.
Yeah. And for those of you who are thinking about, like, you know, I might not want to make templates, but like this is a really useful feature, like maybe you could use it in work. We have Glide Organizations, which is basically the Google Docs, or, you know, you could say it's like the Google Docs for making apps, right? Where you can collaborate on apps with your employees, and everyone in your company can use apps and make them for free until they start getting used. And then when they're used, we charge per user. So that's a really useful one to think about. Yeah.
Amazing. Should we rip through some of these questions we've got left in the Q&A?
Yeah.
So first, at the top, Emmanuel, plans for a simple way to create an internal community in apps. I follow my friends, they follow me, the employee directory approach.
Yeah. So you mean, like, I'm interested what the specific features are about that. So we have chat and comments, but like, what are the features of a community that?
So I guess it'd be just like building some sort of like news feed where you can follow people, and you can bring what they're posting into your feed, I guess.
Yeah. So for sure, like the community, and that we want to make it way more interactive, like the chat experience and the comments experience. But I'd need to think a little bit more about the details of what's not possible right now to do, because the beauty of Glide is that there are a lot of things that you can kind of I hesitate to use the word, but hack together, that we might not have thought of. Like, we quite often see people doing things and we're like, oh, interesting, we never knew that you could do that functionality with what we've provided. But I agree that I would say right now there's probably a few things. So yeah, I'd be interested to know what it is that's missing for you at the moment.
Not related to templates, but I was curious about the locked user ID column on the sheet.
Ah, yes, good question. So when you use features like favorites and other things like that, Glide needs to know where that row is in your sheet. And I can't show this now, but I'll try and explain it. So say I went into an app and I favorited the top item, or maybe I favorited the second item or something like that. And then the person who made the app reordered the rows in their sheets, right, without using row ID columns. What would happen the next day when I went in that app? The favorite would be totally wrong. I would have favorited a different item, and I'd be like, what? That doesn't make sense. And this would extend to comments and things like that. And you'd see your comments on something that you didn't comment on, because Glide can't, the way that Sheets is structured, easily work out what's happened in that way. But when you add a row ID, and the row ID column gives this kind of random long string of data here, a unique ID, we can track it. So that's what that's for. It's a really useful way of adding that functionality.
So these apps work on Android. Can you sell your app on the Play Store?
Can you say, this is kind of what we said earlier? Yeah, not yet, but that's something that we want to.
The Glide template store.
So at the moment, the Glide apps work on the web, basically. So you can add them to your home screen like you would add a website to your home screen, and that makes it a whole lot easier to share and update than app stores. So it's kind of like a different type of app. That's usually how we describe it.
Cool. Oscar, can you integrate Glide within a Webflow site? I think you'd be on about an embed. I don't know if you can embed apps yet.
Not embeds, no. That's something we've heard before, like a kind of really interesting topic for sure. The CMS side of Webflow can be, I believe, connected through, you're the one to answer this, Tom, to be honest. What do you think? Like with
you can sync your Webflow CMS with your Google Sheet and then show the same like info on your Webflow site and your Glide app. That's doable.
I think that's the thing to remind everyone as well. Like, we have a Zapier integration, but people think that that gives you everything. That doesn't actually give you much. Like, Zapier, our Zapier integration is just about sending data to Zapier, like in a like a quick ping, right? Like, bear in mind your Google Sheet, which is like the most used integration in Zapier, because it's like, that's your app, right? So anything that happens in your app, you can pull in data to Google Sheets and just make an amazing app that's powered by Zapier. So that's definitely one to.
If you want a good integration to practice with and make some cool Glide apps with, I actually demoed this at the No Code Conf last year, where I used Phantom Buster with a Google Sheet to create a dynamic Glide app, which contained a list of all of your Product Hunt upvoters. So it would watch for every new upvote in Product Hunt and then scrape down the info and then upload it into Google Sheet. And then you'd see the latest upvotes in your Glide app, because that Google Sheet was self-updating. So if you can use an integration to keep pushing data into your Google Sheet, your Glide app would just automatically update itself.
Yeah. Someone's saying, can you provide the link to that, I think? Yeah,
sure. I'll find it for you afterwards. I have the presentation somewhere. Prashant, can you email me at tom@makerpad.co and I'll email you how I did it. Do you have a public roadmap from Grant?
A public roadmap about what we're working on?
Yeah.
So we would like to do that for sure. As you can understand, like, things change, so we don't want to like overpromise something. We would like to do that at some point. The best place to go to kind of get a sense of that is the link to the feature request app that I showed you there, because you know, if something's really popular on there, it's pretty likely we're going to do it. We can't give a time frame on those things, but I wish we could, but that's just work. Yeah.
Okay, so should you build out our tables on Google Sheet side or on the Glide side?
Sorry, you broke up there, Tom. Say that one more time.
So should we build out our tables on Google Sheet side or the Glide side? Basic columns, not the fancy ones.
Yeah. So we would really like, so at the moment, the data editor is getting better all the time. Like, we're working on it all the time. And I would personally say right now it's easier to work in Google Sheets if you're just inputting data, for sure. But we're aware that this kind of back and forth between Google Sheets to do certain things, like I find myself working on Google Sheets to do something, then go to Glide to do something, you know, is could be improved. So yeah, I would say if you're inputting data, Google Sheets, and then wrangling that data with the computed columns, Glide.
Awesome. How many different access levels can we have? Can we rename them from, say, premium to anything else?
Yes, for sure. So I just showed premium and free, but you could have like as many as you want. That's, I probably didn't explain that. Yeah, it's just a column in your sheet. It's a property that you define, and you can have as many columns, so as many properties, but you can have as many different types. So if you had like 1,000 different users of your app, you could have like 50 different types of users, or 50 different teams, or 100 different teams. And then it would take longer to design the app for those different
yeah, one layer I like to think about it is, just imagine you're using it for locations. You had like a list of hundreds of locations. It's just the same. You can have hundreds of permissions and then just have a conditional to say only show it if this condition is met.
Yeah.
Okay. User profiles. We have a sheet with emails of listing owners. How do we create user profiles for them without the need for them to onboard?
Where is that question? Let me try and read that. Oh, up the top. If we have a sheet with emails of listing owners, how do we create user profiles for them without the need for them to onboard themselves? Oh, great point. Yeah, for sure. So try and explain it in words rather than showing you. So I have there's a tutorial that's kind of old now. And again, it was made before user profiles existed, but it's the build Instagram with Glide video that we have. And in that video, what I essentially do, and you can watch that, is you create a page, a screen, which is a detail screen, which is looking at the user profiles sheet. And then you filter that screen to only show the row that is the current user. This is probably really abstract to explain in words. Or you use row owners. And so then the user will only see their row. So if Tom logs in, he'll see a detail screen with his row. If I log in, we'll see it. And then you can surface those properties in entry components like text entry or number entry. And then they can write their bio, you can write their name, whatever. And that's pretty powerful as well, because if, for example, like if I surfaced the premium or free property to Tom, then he would only see the row. If I surfaced the detail screen to his row, he would only see the detail screen with his row. If I log in, he'll see a detail screen with his row. If I log in, we'll see it. And then you can surface those properties in entry components like text entry or number entry. And then they can write their bio, you can write their name, whatever. And that's pretty powerful as well, because if, for example, like if I Tom wouldn't have to buy the app to make Pro. He could just like change his property and then unlock all this content. So that's another way of thinking about building your apps, is letting your users like choose what kind of app they want to have. You know, that's quite cool.
Got it. Can templates be used on just one app by the purchaser? Can you have to purchase it multiple times, or can you, once you purchase it, can you clone it, I guess?
Yes, I believe you can. Yeah, once you've done it, yeah, you can.
Okay. The welcome page looks fine. Okay. Is there a way you can show an aggregated ranking? 2 secs. For example, you give 3 stars and Tom gives 1 star. Can it show community gives 2 stars?
So you're talking about essentially the roll-up column, which we have, which does a number of different computations like average, max, min, things like that. Mm-hmm. But doing that over a user-specific column. So currently the roll-up column only works over normal columns and not computed columns like or user-specific columns. But that's very much on our list, because at the moment you can't get the average rating for an item, but we need to do that.
Cool. Can we change the heart icon along with the text? So I think this is in relation to the favorite function.
Yes, no, not yet, but it's a great point. So put it in the feature requests app if it's not already there. Cool.
Any plans to add some solution to how to manage product variations for the e-commerce part?
Oh, I see. I'm afraid that's so natively we haven't worked on that, but I think it's possible. I think I did it the other day, but I now can't remember how I did it. That's an example where to ask in the community. I think
I have to get creative, I think.
Yeah, it's possible, but again, it's not something we've built out.
Okay. I mean, is there a download option that can be inserted for users? I'm not sure what that's in relation to exactly.
Oh, for a file. Or something like you want to download a PDF. No, there isn't a download component, but you can open a PDF and then like, I believe the share screen or something like that on iOS for sure. You can then like add it or whatever, but no, not native.
So can we link back to the home screen? I'm sure you can.
Yes. You mean with the link to screen action? Not yet. No, I don't think. It would be a unique version of that screen. So, but yeah, that's another thing that we know we should do at some point.
Okay. Speaking of nested structure, can you open a web page within a Glide app to keep the user in the app?
Yes, for sure. So, previously it opens if you're on iOS, it opens in that kind of standard Safari that opens up.
Yep.
We've just added this component called Web, I think, or maybe we're still working on it. There's something, Web View or Web Action or something like that you'll find.
Nice.
The problem with that is that a lot of websites stop themselves being embedded, and currently the way that we've built that is, as far as I understand, to do with embedded stuff. I don't know,
nice.
But it's a bit tricky.
That's good enough. If I do not want any tab, but want only menu display, is it possible? So no tabs on the bottom, just
menu. Yeah. So you just need to create like a screen with just one tab. So then we'll just get rid of, Glide will just remove the tabs at the bottom if you have one tab. You can still have tabs in the app menu, but like the tabs at the bottom will disappear and you get that nice full screen. I think it was in the app that I showed, the inside is the dark mode app.
Yep.
And then you just have images or buttons with the link to screen action in those menus.
Yeah, that's cool. Love that. Phil, how long would it take you to make the feature request app from scratch?
Oh, yeah, you want to build that from scratch, right? Yeah. So that's on my long list for sure to do a long tutorial on, because that's just, we were using a premium service that was like $100 a month to do feature requests. And then Mark and I were like, you know, come on, like we must be able to do this now. And then he put something together so now we can do it and we can keep expanding it. So it's great. I will do it at some point, but might be a while, sorry.
So if you were good with Glide, how long would it take you to build it? If you were just to build it?
If like full-time working on it, like if I'd already built it?
Yeah.
A day, like maximum?
Nice.
Yeah, less probably.
Cool. Question from Glenn. Are there plans to introduce live streaming and engagement features?
Oh, yeah, great one. So you can already embed, I mean, it's not amazing, but you can embed like YouTube and I believe Twitch and other things as well in the video component. but I'm not super familiar with that world, so I'm not like aware of all the different functionality it provides. But if there are specifics, you can ask those and I'll answer.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a great idea. We'd love to.
I want to use user profiles, but I haven't figured out how to connect to other people's profiles. I think we touched on this previously, so just about connecting with other people.
I want to use user profiles, but I haven't figured out how to connect to other people's profiles, like friends list. Ooh, yeah. So, I mean, favorite component could just do that. Like you could have your profile, right? And then you belong, like say it's the employee directory. You could have your profile where you edit information about it in the way that I described, and then you could have a list of people, and then you just add the favorite component to one of those people, and then all of them will have the favorite component, and then you just change the favorite component to be add to friends list. And you can also do stuff, you don't have to use the favorite component. You could use the switch component and just not have that heart, and you could just have a switch that says add to friends list, and then you can filter another area based on your user specific switch or Boolean. It's hard to describe.
Nice. Cool. Is event booking for fitness classes possible?
Yes. Yeah. I've heard a lot of people doing booking stuff. Robert Petito, one of our experts, has done. I mean, just go to the template store. I think there's stuff in there. I'll just have a quick look. Booking. Salon, spa booking, booking tool with limit, rentals. Yeah, I think it's possible. Like our calendar component could do with an upgrade for sure. Sorry, our calendar layout. But yeah, there's bookings are possible.
Nice. Cool. I think we've done a pretty good job at whizzing through all of those questions. Hopefully that was helpful. We've gone an hour and 15 minutes plus the little intro that we did before with talking about nonsense. So enough of your time, everybody. Hope that was enjoyable. Obviously, a ton of resources both on the Glide site. Jack does some killer tutorials on YouTube, probably the best you'll find anywhere. So treat yourselves to them and don't compare them to mine because that'd be wrong of you. And then if you
Tom always says this, and I always tell him that I do one company and Tom does 300 companies. So it's kind of okay. It's quality and quantity.
So yeah, if you want to go, I suggest Glide is a great place to start. We teach people how to use Glide as well in our Basics of No Code bootcamp. Let me just see if I can share my screen quickly. So on Makerpad.co, we do a series of bootcamps, and in our Learn the Basics of No Code bootcamp, we feature Glide heavily, and we recommend it as a really good place for people to start. So if you haven't signed up for Makerpad, get yourself on the mailing list and potentially look at some of our free tutorials. And then obviously once you're up to speed and fancy diving in further, then there's the pro membership there for you as well. But yeah, highly recommend Glide. And then once if you want to dive into some other apps, then we've got some other stuff on Makerpad as well.
Garrison's just said about discount code doesn't work for Makerpad deals. You can contact support@glideapps.com and get that figured out, or Makerpad. I don't know where the issue is lying there, but yeah, we'll sort that out.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you so much, guys. Really, really enjoyable session.
Jack, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on to speak with us all and giving a masterclass as always in Glide. I've learned some things myself, so got to go update a few apps now. And guys, if you build anything, make sure you reach out to obviously the community on Glide, the community on Makerpad, or email us if you need any help. I'm always available at tom@makerpad.co. We have a circle community that you could join as well. But yeah, hopefully we'll be doing some more of these webinars soon, so look out for them. Anything you want to add, Jack, before we
No, that's it. Thanks, guys. And yeah, just reach out to us if you want to join in the community at Glide Apps, community.glideapps.com. We'd love to see that. And if you have questions, just tag me. I think I'm just Jack Vaughan, @Jack Vaughan. You can find me on there somewhere.
He's everywhere. You'll find him. Nice. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your week. Stay safe and speak to you all soon.
See ya.
Bye.